All right, this is a story time of how I discovered my son had leukemia at 3 years old. This video is going to be long, so I would suggest if you don't want to hear it slowly, click on the profile picture or down here or up there and or here, I don't know which way, and so you can go to X speed. So in the year 2020, I moved to Florida, South Florida, and I absolutely loved it. Everything was going well. I put my son in daycare at 3 years old. Now my son was, when you put your kid in daycare, it's like one infection after the other, like colds and everything. Long story short, cold after cold after cold after cold. I started getting concerned. I'm like, this is crazy that this kid has so many colds, but you don't think nothing of it because every other kid is sick as well. So one day, this was now 2022. He was full on in daycare. He was almost 4. 2022, no, he was gonna be 4, or he was 4 already. Sorry, he was 4 already. And this was in October. Now he started complaining of leg pain, and a boy is jumping and going, bouncing around. So I just assumed, he probably hurt himself or whatever. Fine, maybe like a week or two passed, and he starts complaining of the leg pain again. And I'm like, all right. And then my son is like, Mommy, he was jumping up and down on the bed and he threw himself or whatever. So I didn't think really nothing of it. I had an appointment that day, as a matter of fact, and they called me from his school, the preschool, the daycare, and they said, listen, like, he's not stopped crying. Like, they have tried everything. Just come and pick him up. So I said, okay, no problem, pick him up. That day, it was very unusual because he was just crying and crying of pain, like really bad. And I'm like, I wonder what's wrong, because I thought it was arthritis. I have arthritis since I was a little girl, since I was 3 years old. So I assumed it was arthritis. So I called his pediatrician and I said, listen, like, he's crying. He's like, all right, bring him in. I bring him into the pediatrician. The pediatrician has him walking. He's kind of walking a little funny because his leg hurt. Long story short, the pediatrician sends him for x-rays and blood work just to rule out like rheumatoid arthritis and arthritis per se and something else. I did that the next day. Like, I set up appointments. In Florida, it's super easy to get appointments. You get appointments like really fast. It's not like New York. Anyway, the next day I took him for appointments. That day he had a fever. The fever was not going away. The fever was like 101, 102, 103. I messaged the pediatrician through the portal, and I'm like, listen, the Motrin is not working, Tylenol is not working. It was already like 9 p.m. and my son is screaming right now. And he's like, listen, it was a coincidence. He said, I never check my portal at night. I usually wait to get to the office the next day and answer the messages. So he calls me. He says, just go to this hospital. It's called Joe DiMaggio in Florida. If anything is wrong with him, they will figure it out because it's a specialized children's hospital. So that's what I did. I get to the hospital. It was October 13th, 2022. I'll never forget. And October 13th, 2022, they run tests. My son couldn't walk at all. He couldn't walk. He was just crying of pain. They just giving him Motrin and Tylenol, running tests. They did sonograms, they did MRI, they did a CAT scan, they did X-ray, blood work. Then now it's the 14th. On the 14th, it's like nobody's giving me an answer. And I'm like, what is going on? So his dad was in New York. His dad comes down. Like, what is going on? Finally, on the 15th, I remember it was a Saturday, and I had not showered or anything. And I tell my sister, come to the hospital and so I can go home and shower. When I'm on my way home to shower, they call me, say, listen, like, we got the results of the MRI and stuff, and we want to discuss it with you. And I said, well, can you tell me over the phone? He goes, no, don't worry. Just go shower. And because I had said, I'm on my way home to shower and I'll be back. So they're like, no, don't worry. Just go home, shower, and then come back. I'm like, I said, okay, whatever. I get home, I shower, I pack up a few things, and I come back. So I just realized my son wet me. So I get back to the hospital and the doctors come in, my sister's there, and they're like, listen. I said, wait, I gotta call my husband like on the FaceTime. So the doctor now says, like, we found leukemia. And I'm looking at him like, He says it's a type of cancer. It's in the blood, and basically it runs the entire body. After I heard that, I didn't hear nothing else. If you ask me today what they said, I don't remember. I cannot remember. I stay like this. I was listening, but I'm like this. Literally blank. So my sister starts crying, and I'm looking at my sister, and I just look at the doctor, and I'm like, and then my husband on the phone on the iPad is going crazy because he's 1,300 miles away, and I'm just like, okay. So at that point, they're like, we're gonna do this. I honestly, I don't remember what they said. I just know that they explained they have to do this, they will have to stay in the hospital, etc., etc., etc. The next day was Sunday. We were in the hospital. They moved us from a room, and then my husband came. I think it was that Monday morning. No, Sunday or Saturday. I can't remember. Friday was when they told me. Saturday, my husband came. We spent the Saturday in the hospital. Sunday, they did a port. They put in a port. Monday, they were starting treatment. And from there, it was like, I don't wish this on anybody. The treatment is 2.5 years long. From October 15th, 2022, my son's end date for his treatment for leukemia is February 7th, 2025. Guess what day that is? Today is January 20. What day is today? Today's the 24th, I think. 25th? Today's the 26th. Oh my God, I'm bad. Today is January 26th, 2025, and my son's end date for his treatment is February 7th, 2025. My son is now in remission, but I don't want to jump ahead. I need to tell you the story. In between that whole time frame, I will tell you, my son lost his hair. My son lost his ability to walk. My son lost his ability to eat for a few days at a time. There was infections after infections, infections after infections. Anytime his blood levels would drop, I think I have a minor PhD at this point. Blood levels, CBCs, the platelet counts, hemoglobins, liver panels, kidney panels, like all of that gets done every single visit that he goes to the hospital. So after all this, like I would say the first 6 months was the hardest. It was the hardest. My son lost his hair. And that losing of the hair it's like a realization, this is real. You understand? That's when you kind of notice this is real. His I'm gonna try to insert pictures here. His face swelled up from the medications. Thankfully, he didn't need radiation because he didn't have a tumor. Radiation is for tumors, it's to shrink tumors. My son had blood cancer, so it's in the blood. There's no radiation needed, thank God. Because radiation is a little more invasive and it's worse because you're really radiating the body. In between that, he had a bacterial infection, which is really, really bad as well. We spent his 5th birthday in the hospital. It was like, it's like the worst experience that you could ever go through, especially see your child go through. He has been in remission for the last 9 months. So the first, I would say, year and a half was the hardest of the entire treatment. We were in and out of the hospital at Joe DiMaggio, and let me tell you, when I tell you Joe DiMaggio has a piece of my heart forever and ever. Those people are amazing, from the care to I will tell you, from the valet. They don't let you park your car. If you go in for an appointment, they go and they leave you park at the front gate. They take your car for you. You don't park your car and then walk. No. From valet all the way to a doctor, everybody was superb. To the point where I want to do my son's bell ringing. They offered one here in New York, but we want to go back to Florida to finish this full circle because they were that great. That great. I would recommend them 100%. I'm almost nearing the 10 minutes, so I'm going to do a part 2 so I can tell you the rest of the story and hopefully finish it off. So I hope you watch part 2 and please send some love in the comments.